TV. All right, let's now get to the big story. Our profuse apologies for delaying to get that to you. On the big story this morning, we talk about what happened as the week did close. The raid of the offices of Boda Boda 2010, the arrest of its leader and a couple of other people. And police is beginning, well, not police now, really. The military seems to be in charge. They're beginning to unravel a couple of things. We are waiting to see how this story develops. So this morning on the big story, I speak to my colleague, Ali Mivule, who has been reporting on this story. He'll talk to us about his findings. So we get to have a journalist's viewpoint of this whole matter, what they have discovered as they went out there to cover this story, perhaps a lot more than does meet the eye. Ali Mivule, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I know that when you guys put together a story, you have about, what, a maximum of 2.5, 3 minutes to put that story together, but there's a lot more that you see.
Yeah.
You know, you cover this story for the whole entire day, but then you've got to pick out pieces and bits and piece together a 3-minute story. So there's a lot more that people perhaps don't get to see, and hopefully we can get to hear all of this. So you were asked to go and cover this story, Boda Boda 2010. The first day you did hit the road and went out there, what did you discover? What did you see?
Actually, the first day was Saturday, but at night, Friday night, there were some reports at Natete, whereby some Boda Boda cyclists wanted to go and storm a police station. That's Natete police station, after several of their colleagues were arrested. I remember during the day, again on Friday, several Boda Boda cyclists were arrested as they tried to, it was a cat and mouse chase between the CMI, that's military police, and the Boda Boda cyclists. They were claiming that, the Boda Boda cyclists were claiming that these people were shielding a criminal in the car. That was a super custom that was moving from Chiseka, and then those people were taken to Mbuya, and thereafter these people were following up. Then Friday night, those reports of Boda Boda cyclists, the intention of attacking a police station, that's Natete, and in the morning there was deployment. That's around the roundabout, Natete roundabout. There was some police deployment. We weren't sure where these people were coming from, so we went to different offices. That's Boda Boda.
That's Kitete right there?
No, that's at Anaska Fero.
Ah, okay,
At
sure.
Anaska Fero, one of the leaders of Boda Boda 2010. In fact, that's the chairman of Boda Boda 2010 in Kampala. So during the process, police was moving in different, military police was moving in different directions, trying to avert any chaos that would erupt from the Boda Boda cyclists. So we went to, the first office was Wakaliga, Boda Boda 2010. The reception there wasn't good. Those people were so skeptical, whoever was moving around their premises. And they asked us, are you from there is a certain media house they don't want to get close to their premises. Are you from that media house? We said no. Some group was saying, you come in and cover, you know, we have our issues, come, we tell you what's going on. The other group was like, no, those journalists should go.
But eventually you were able to cover a few things.
Yeah, we were able to cover a few things, but under that suspicious environment.
How is the military police getting involved herein? Of course, there's been talk about Boda Boda 2010 working with the police, so police cannot do the investigations. What did you discover about, these guys getting involved?
Now, I spoke to one of the PROs that was off record, and what I got to understand...
is that of police or of the military?
Military. And what I got to understand that they are still having these investigations, but it seems they don't want to involve the police. Because we've seen these people, okay, we've seen some investigations. They are carrying out these investigations hand in hand with the police, but the military is leading all the way. Yeah, they're leading all the way. So what we can say, what we can see right now, that more investigations are still in the pipeline. Because yesterday, according to the statement that came out after the arrest of the other people from Kaboa, now we see a link between Boda Boda 2010 and the murder the gruesome murder of the Cardick
accountant. Yeah, because of that car that was discovered
that
at
was
their
discovered.
premises.
So
what else did you see at the premises? What we saw on air, well, there are guns, knives, and then some green vegetation. Some people think it was weed. What did you guys see there?
Okay, during the day, actually, we didn't see much of activity there, and we didn't see many of the weapons that were discovered during night. Apart from the operation that was carried out at night, that's when they got those machetes, sticks, arrows, when they were got from the Boda Boda 2010.
That's the accountant that passed.
Yeah, the accountant. But again, what I discovered, when you go to these offices of Boda Boda 2010, as I told you, the security there are some places you're not allowed to access. And there are these people, there are these muscular guys, the Kanyamas, around, most especially that Bukesa office where Atanas was. It wasn't easy accessing several places. You know, other journalists, you're curious, what's here, what's there. But you see people just standing in front of you, and then they dictate, no, you're going to have the interview from there, don't come this side. You understand?
Who funds these guys? They seem to have a very organized structure. They've got offices. You talk about they've got a security ring. I'm told Kitata had a bodyguard or so and that kind of thing. Who funds them to be this structured?
Well, it's not yet clear who is funding these people. But when I talked to Atanas Kafero, the chairman of Boda Boda 2010 in Kampala, he told me that these arrests are beyond their, excuse me, these arrests are beyond their rivalry with the different factions, because you know we have Century. That's the rival faction to Boda Boda 2010. Okay, so it's as if he was insinuating that there is an invisible hand that is pushing all this. But for the funding of Boda Boda 2010, up to now, it's not yet clear. But as you know, every organization or every association, people have circles, and they can lobby funds from the government.
And well, the IGP says they've been working with them, so it's also a possibility that, they've been taken care of using the police budget in a way. That's one conclusion. Well, we can't exactly conclude, but when the IGP says we have been working with these guys, they inform us and so on, it's possible some money trickles to them. Have you met Abdul Chitata himself before?
Yeah, before.
Well, what did you discover about this man? You know, the little that we hear about, I've only seen him on TV. He seems to be a very powerful figure, not just in this town, but in this country.
Actually, he's so influential when it comes to these commercial cyclists, the Boda riders. And he has a section that believes in him, okay? In case of any problem, it's Chitata who has been lobbying on behalf of these people, in case they had any problem. Well, you've seen he has also ventured into taxis. The association, remember when we had those taxi fights, Utrada and the other group, that's Mayambala and the other group. Again, Chitata's name popped out. So he doesn't only concern himself with Boda Boda, but I think the entire transport system. So many of these players in the transport industry, I think they look at him as their link to the top.
How do you see this story developing? Because I know you're going to be following it up to see how much more gets to be unearthed. How do you see it developing? Do you see these guys being brought to book? Because, the president has severally expressed his doubt and his reservations and his disappointment about the police not doing what they should do. For example, there's a feature we ran yesterday night about the military, the UPDF, being deployed by the president to curb bad fishing and so on. He said the police failed, so I deployed the army. So the army has taken over this. Do you see that at the end of the day, there's justice going to be served? We are now seeing, of course, now the involvement of this accountant who was murdered and so on and so forth. Do you see light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak?
Now, at the moment, we can't just come out with conclusions because the investigation is still ongoing. But I think maybe more arrests will be made in connection to that. Now that we have a link, because initially we were asking ourselves, why are these people being arrested? And we tried to get to the army, to the UPDF. It wasn't easy, for them. They didn't come out clearly. At first they were speaking in tongues. Until yesterday, they came up with that statement clarifying why these people were being arrested. You understand? So what I see is that more arrests might be made.
There are journalists that fear to cover stories such as this. Many times when we have a situation like this, there are people that want to steer clear, especially if it's a group that is structured like this. We hear they go after people and so on. Do you feel safe? Do you have any worries about covering this story?
Yeah. You know, as I told you earlier, when we went to that office of Boda Boda 2010 Wakaliga, it was during day. But some guys there, very muscular, the one at Wakaliga, not the one at Bukesa. The ones who are trying to prevent us from seeing what's inside. So, as a journalist, you look at some places, that office of Boda Boda 2010 is not a place that every journalist will just walk into and get a story out of it. Unless you have some, if you have some protection from maybe the authorities, military or police, but you can't tell me can just come out from the newsroom, go cover that story, unless if it's them they want to communicate something to the public, you understand? But during these circumstances, it's not that easy. You have to be very cautious as a journalist, because you can be clobbered.
So you are still following up on this story. What are you looking out for going forward?
Now going forward, so we would like to know where these people, when are they going to be taken to court? Are they going to be taken to court anyway? Are there other charges that are going to be placed on these people? And we're yet to find out. Are they going to be charged under the military court, because it was the military arresting these people? Are they going to go to our normal courts or military courts?
This whole Boda Boda thing, the last time a census was attempted to be done, of course that did not materialize because Boda Boda, rose up in uproar and the president said, no, let's ignore that. Because he had begun the whole process of trying to do a census of sorts. And we do hear there's many criminal elements that have infiltrated Boda Bodas away from the Boda Boda 2010 and all these different groupings. What in your view, having covered this, you see their operations, you see that there's a lot more than just the Boda Boda business and industry. There's probably a lot more that goes on, because if you're saying there's kanyamas, there's places you cannot access, and yet ideally, this should be transport industry and that kind of thing, but there's a lot more than meets the eye. How do you think these guys can be penetrated, Boda Bodas, generally speaking?
Penetrated from the side of
by the authorities to with the quest of having an orderly kind of industry, with the quest of eliminating the criminal elements, because there's a lot of criminality. People that have been shot down, they've been riding on Boda Bodas, so it is obvious there's some kind of collaboration.
Okay, now in the first place we saw government coming out with some measures, most especially the two plates now, the number plates. Because at first they said if someone commits a crime, Boda Boda, they just raid away and then you can't see the number plate. But again, the registration were all Boda Boda cyclists registered. And do the authorities know the gazetted stages? Because there are very many stages, most especially in Kampala. But we don't know how many are gazetted. So it's very difficult to follow up if you don't have the exact number of gazetted stages. There are these people that move around, the Boda Boda cyclists, they are called Lubianza, the Lubianza style.
Lubianza, what is that?
Now Lubianza, the cyclist doesn't have a specific stage. Just moves around. They find you, say, Nyonyi, hey, where you heading to? 5,000. So who is taking care of such people in the current situation? So if you can't come out with a plan to cater for the gazetted stages, it's very difficult to follow up these people.
Some folks are of the view that General Kayihura is on trial in a way. Just the day before this happened, I believe, that's when he was before Parliament, and he was defending Boda Boda 2010, saying, look, they have a few issues, but they are helping us a great deal to curb criminality. And he has had the same narrative all through. Do you think he finds himself in a spot of bother?
I think so. Because that wasn't even the first time. I remember when we were covering again that story, we were in Emolawa, Kira, that side, and he was praising those people. He actually brought them forward and people clapped. You know, these people are helping us curb down the crime in Kampala. Some people are against Boda Boda 2010, but they're doing a great job. So if the IGP is talking about, he's praising the acts of Boda Boda 2010, and then the following day, or the following week, or the following month, more things are unearthed about them, okay? Because now we can't be subjective, because investigations are still ongoing. But again, that's already a taint on your shirt. That's a stain on your shirt. I think it should be bothered.
All right, we'll be looking out to see how this story develops and seeing how you'll be reporting on it. Ali Mivule, thank you for sharing your thoughts on this issue. All right, so there you are. It's a story that we are keeping our eyes on. As it does develop, we'll let you know how things do play out. Of course, we are waiting. This guy is going to be taken to court. Which court? We've had some sections saying they're going to be court-martialed. Will that be the case, or will it be the civilian courts? Anyhow, let's wait and see. Ultimately, justice should be done. And not just done, but seem to be done. That's the big story for today. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joel Senyonyi. Good morning.